Welcome to Dire Straits Live. I'm Tracy Clark Flory.
I'm Amanda Monty.
This is one of our special podcast episodes recorded live in front of a Substack audience. Hello, everybody. It's currently pouring in. So these are the more casual, chatty, totally unedited versions of the pod. And today's episode is going to be kind of a grab bag of news and pop culture. We're going to hit everything from Chris Harrison's trad dating show to the Epstein files to Wuthering Heights, covering a lot of ground today. And we're releasing these lives as bonus episodes for our paid subscribers. You can find the recording on our Substack and on all podcasting apps.
That is a lot. We're being very ambitious today.
Yes, we'll see how much we get to.
Yes, exactly. If you're listening to this after the fact, you will have to upgrade to a paid subscription to hear the whole thing. We think it's well worth it. And paid subscriptions are the only reason that we can do this. Just head over to direstraitspod.com. That's Straits with a GH to upgrade. You can even do it now while you're watching and listening, and you'll get access to lots of bonus episodes and subscriber content.
Yes. So today's an extra special episode, I want to say, because I'm reporting live from concussion land. I got a concussion this weekend because I decided to try to learn how to skateboard at the ripe old age of 42.
As one does.
Yes. And I mentioned that here to preempt any sort of mental lags that you might notice, but also because I think it's not unrelated to dire straightness, in that I decided to try skateboarding because Christopher and our 8-year-old decided they wanted to try to skateboard. And initially I was like, no, like I don't need random injuries in my life. That's the last thing I need. Like, I'll sit this out. But then they were like heading to the skate park. And I was like, okay, am I going to be just like sitting on the sidelines watching them skate? And I flashed back to being a teenager following my boyfriend around to skate parks, watching him skate
Your
along with all the
skater
other
boyfriend.
along with all the other girlfriends who were similarly sitting on the sidelines. And I was like, I am 42 years old. I am not going to be sitting on the sidelines anymore. I need to go get a skateboard. And I did.
And you got a
And then I got a concussion that very day, like the same day. And to my credit, I will say, like, I did great. Almost like I think I got a little too high on myself because I was like, I'm amazing. And then I was like, I'm gonna try to do a trick. And then I hit my head. And
what trick? What were you trying to ollie or something?
Maybe a trick is like a little too like
maybe not quite a trick.
I'm so glad we don't. Yeah, I was like trying to go up a ramp, which is actually kind of hard to do. And so I was like having to like push really hard to get up this ramp. And I was like so singularly determined to do it. And I was getting exhausted and I just like had to push through. But then of course I pushed myself to the point of like falling down and hitting my head. But I think it like, to me, I don't, part of the reason I did it was because I was like, I'm in midlife officially, like, like it's time to be the person I've always wanted to be, and it's like I'm gonna be that woman who skateboards, because like I always looked up to women like that when I was younger, but I never actually did it. I was always on the sidelines watching the boys. The takeaway should not be that you should not go out there and be the person you want to be. That is not the moral of the story. But I do just mention it because I think it's amazing how these like adolescent experiences around heterosexuality basically can follow you now into midlife, and how you like can find yourself like kind of circling back to that earlier era and trying to like right things. Like this time around, I'm going to do it my way. I'm curious, do you have something like that?
Oh, I mean, I definitely relate to the trying to do things that my kids are doing and then realizing that I'm old.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and injuring myself. Like I was thinking, getting ready for our conversation, like a couple months ago, my daughter plays softball because she's such a badass, and she like was not very comfortable with the whole sliding aspect of it. And I was like, "Well, I'll do it with you." And I swear, Tracy, I almost pulled like all the muscles in my leg. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like in general, this is like kind of a hetero dad trope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
older men, well, at least skateboarding, right? I may or may not have some experience with the male version of this, which I won't say too much about. But like men trying to do things that they could do when they were kids and realizing that they too have older bodies.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I did fall into that trope really because, like Christopher's out there and he was skating and he was fine. He did not get injured. And then I go out there and I end up with a concussion and then I'm like, "Oh no, I'm like in bed and like have to like rest my eyes and stuff, or like can you watch the kid while I go to the ER?"
Well, he
So
didn't get
there
injured this time, but it's
my
possible.
It's possible we are a household with 2 dads, like, basically,
Yes.
in terms of how we manifest gender roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of a reversal, and it was very
Yeah.
humbling. I feel like it was, like, this sort of, like, "Oh, yeah, like, you might have been able to handle this fall a few decades ago,
Yeah.
without getting a concussion, but yeah,
Yeah.
now you are 42." Well,
Well, I'm glad you're getting out there and trying things and flipping the hetero script, and I hope that
yes.
your brain is okay.
I don't know, let me know how I seem after this
You seem
live.
fine so far.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, I know we wanna talk about Chris Harrison's trad marriage reality TV show.
Do we?
Um,
Do we really wanna talk
I
about it?
I don't know how much you've seen. I want to just read out for everyone the casting call that went out last week, I believe. It reads, "Now casting, dating for a traditional marriage. Chris Harrison is back, hosting a brand new dating series. A prominent streaming service is casting single men and women who want a traditional marriage minded partnership built on commitment and shared values. We're looking for singles who believe in clear roles."
Wonder what
Yeah.
kind of roles.
Mhm. I mean, that just speaks volumes. Long-term commitment and building life together, and who are dating with real intention. Apply
Mhm.
now. Um, so to me, immediately I thought about the Heritage Foundation report that came out weeks earlier
Yeah.
because they had actually suggested in it that one of the ways to save the family is to create marriage boot camps
Oh my
that
god.
bring together couples for like a few weeks where they like learn about love and commitment and fidelity. Um, and it culminates in a group marriage ceremony.
Orgy? A group orgy?
That would be so much better.
They
Um,
would all be cheating on their spouses and
yeah. So it was like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god," it's basically like, Love Is Blind, but, like, after the pods, where they have to live together and, like, figure out
right.
how to make the relationship work, and then they indeed, all of them go and have their weddings, and then they get paid, I believe, for making it to the end, right? Which is the marriage boot camp. If you get married at the end of the boot camp, you get a small sum. So it's like Love Is Blind, like, basically for, like, Heritage Foundation version.
Right.
And
No
now
problems with that at all.
no,
None of
no, no.
I couldn't see that going south at all. Yeah.
But now basically, like a week later, yeah, Chris Harrison announces that he actually, like, literally is doing a trad dating show.
So where is the I'm so confused about this because I haven't spent too much time looking at this, but I was searching it this morning and all I could find was this casting call.
Yeah.
So where is this gonna air? Does it even
Oh,
have
no.
distribution? Is this like what is this?
All it says is that it's a major streaming platform, so who could
CBS?
say? Yeah. Right. Exactly. Right. Okay. So we should remember the context of Chris Harrison's departure from The Bachelor. Obviously, he hosted The Bachelor for, I don't know, decades, like very long time.
Yeah.
And he left because he had defended contestant Rachel Kirkconnell
Yeah.
after it was revealed that she attended an antebellum themed party in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
remember that.
yeah. So he, was pushed to depart the Bachelor franchise. And now he's back with this much more, at least explicitly, like conservative branded TV show.
Right. Well, that's the thing is like the Bachelor franchise, which I have a very long relationship with, is in and of itself, it's always been a conservative franchise, right? It's been
Right.
criticized for trafficking and purity culture and, racism and, it's always been rife with issues. And of course, it's highly heterocentric, marital centric. Obviously, that's the whole point is for them to get married at the end. So, like, yeah, how is this different?
Right. It's like the branding it's just more explicit, I guess.
Right.
And then I think because of him being like kind of quote unquote canceled, it I feel like that is part of the brand of this show now, right? Like it's like that he's kind of been like pulled over into this like conservative right wing sort of like media ecosystem. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, yeah, where it lands. Like, is it TBS or is it Netflix?
Right.
Um, Very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because some of what you'll see contestants talk about on like the more recent seasons of The Bachelor, although I've kind of stopped watching it, but recent years, right, it has been like, oh, yeah, I'm a woman and I want to work. Like very basic pushing back against traditional gender roles, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like almost like how could anything get more conservative than what we already have with The
Well, we
Bachelor?
already
But
have.
they're gonna try. They're gonna, yeah.
Right.
Now's
Well,
the
and the
time for it,
emphasis
I guess.
it now is totally time for it. Yeah. I mean, the emphasis on clear roles, like that is what just really got me because
Yeah.
there, like reading between the lines, it's like, of course, yeah, it's like that sort of like right wing sense of like, men don't know how to be men anymore and women don't know how to be, it is just totally that trad wife sort of like plunk you into your proper role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Make
yeah,
marriage great again. Yeah.
here we
I
are.
also just like tangentially like find Chris Harrison as like the paternal figure on the show like so fascinating. And for a while when they were replacing him, they were like toying with having, female hosts, right? And then they decided to go with what's his name, Jesse, footballer. And like there's just a
Yeah.
very interesting choice to have a paternal figure at all times on the scene, sort of watching over everyone.
Right.
Suspect.
Mhm. Indeed, so much about it is so very suspect, but I will be watching. I mean, I'm
I will be watching.
I can't wait to write about it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, I know we also want to talk about well, again, do we really want to talk about Epstein files? We have to. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've talked about like we should do some kind of episode on this, but there's so much, right? Like
Yeah.
not only just in terms of like the sheer volume of the files. I guess there's over 3 million files released now, just dropped in our lap with these very strategic redactions. On the other hand, there's like a kind of simplicity to what we're seeing, which we'll talk about. But I thought we should focus on two things. One, what really interested me in the recent file drop is how Epstein and his circle essentially created the Me Too backlash. Insane.
I'm
Right.
like
But
I'm
also, like,
speechless. Yeah. Right.
Not that surprising. So,
Totally.
for those who are just kind of catching up here, there's a great report at the 19th, which is kind of a summary of what I mean. The headline, if you want to look it up, is Epstein tracked Me Too fallout and advised accused men behind the scenes. So, documents in the files show Epstein and those he's in touch with referring to women as Me Too bitches and feminazis, sometimes by name, calling out feminists by name. Other files show him tracking Me Too stories and advising men like Lawrence Krauss, Harvey Weinstein, Woody Allen, Brett Ratner, talk show host Charlie Rose, comedian Louis C.K., former Today Show host Matt Lauer, and ex-CBS chairman Les Moonves. Such a strange last name. Um, all of whom, right, were at the time doing damage control on their reputations, right? And so Epstein was this kind of figure that they were sort of turning to for advice. And there are emails with reporters as well about trying to reframe what was happening, trying to really reframe Me Too, right?
Yeah.
In the emails, there's also, of course, lots of making light of abuse and degrading survivors. So, yeah, I mean, I found this all pretty fascinating and startling, and then at the same time, completely not surprising, right?
Yeah.
That there are these men behind the scenes, sort of crafting this conversation. I guess what I'm thinking about now is like how much you and I have discussed the Me Too backlash.
Yeah.
And so, like, what does this series of revelations mean for us in that conversation? Other than that, we were right.
Yeah.
Not only that this was happening, but that it was actually like this concerted PR
Yeah.
effort, right? On the part of abusers and men in power to frame feminists as this kind of like social threat, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and also like this view of women and feminists as sort of blocking or preventing men from sort of accessing their truest form of hetero masculinity, which is of
Right.
course rooted in abuse and domination of girls
Right.
and women.
Right, right, right. I mean, it is so chilling. And there's so much about the Epstein case that is just like, it feels like it like validates like all the conspiracy theories, Like it's just like, oh, and here it is and it's all cataloged right here in his inbox. Um but that piece of it really truly it is amazing all these years later to see the scheming behind the scenes and the fact of these men trying to have each other's backs, right? Like the boys club of it all, like that they are motivated to support each other, not just to like try to attack their own victims and to clear their own names, but to like band together in attack, right?
Totally. And I mean, just like the simmering hatred of women underneath it all,
Yeah. Right.
constantly. And this sort of like, I feel like, well, impunity is not the right word. It's the rape culture of it all, right?
Yeah.
And the sort of like depth and scope of it that
Yeah.
again feels completely unsurprising and also, I don't know, useful maybe to see it all kind of plotted out, written out so explicitly.
Right, right. Like it is so validating of what we already knew, but it's just so awful to actually see the hard evidence of it, right?
Right.
And such a minor point, but like the unoriginality of attacks on feminists, like the like feminazis,
Yeah.
calling us
Childish too.
bitches. It's like do better in your misogyny. Like really try a little harder, maybe.
Oh my gosh. And just like the incoherence of some of these emails, right? Like
Yeah.
the poor syntax and spelling and it's just how are these people how do they
So
have so much power?
powerful. So powerful.
I feel like maybe there's some sort of like system of male supremacy and domination at work? Is
I
there,
was
like, a name
I
for
wish
that?
there was a name for it. I don't know. Someone should really coin that.
Oh, I think it's patriarchy, right? Well, so that was the other thing that I thought we should discuss, right? Is like, what are these files telling us? Because I think I have felt
Mhm.
sort of torn. Well, one, the volume of it and just like the physical nervous system
Oh
overwhelm of
god.
like looking at it all is that's one thing,
Well,
right?
just like that you can like, see something on social media and go down the rabbit hole of looking at some of the screenshots of the files and like lose, an afternoon because it
For a week,
is or a week, I mean, because it's so completely horrifying. And like, of course, you can't just then come back to like, oh, let me, report back to my stupid job and like,
right?
pretend that I didn't just read about these horrifying things being committed by people who are in great positions of power currently.
Or take care of my children, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But then the other thing that I keep coming up against is like, well, what is the point of sort of digging into them, right? Like, what are we trying to find? Like, are these files really a keystone? And to what? Like, to this idea that there is some sort of patriarchal
Hmm.
cabal running the
Right.
world, that what rape culture exists, patriarchy exists, male heterosexuality is defined by domination, abuse, objectification of women, like,
Yeah.
don't we already
Know
know
that.
this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I will say, like, when I find myself tracking the news coming out around this, um, I like detect this hope in myself that the next thing to come out will be the thing that actually leads to any kind of real consequences.
Right, right.
And which has actually just ended up being this like terrible exercise in
Disappointment.
disappointment and disillusionment, right? Because these horrifying things keep coming out and like each thing seems to be worse than the last
Yeah,
and still where are the consequences?
right, right,
But I'm still, that I think that's why I keep engaging with it because you're right. Like, I don't think that in truth, it's not telling us anything different from what we already knew to be true. It's maybe like, presenting some devastating evidence to support that fact. But I do think that like my attachment to following it is that wish that, oh no, this will be the final straw.
right. Well, it's interesting because we kind of simultaneously have, like, 2 things going on where there is, like, a shifting of, like, the Overton window, right? Where, like,
Yeah.
we're having sort of, like, more mainstream conversations about rape culture, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, the billionaire class, which we can talk about, right? Like, remembering that this is not, like, a problem that is specific to the billionaire elite, but that this, rape, sexual assault, abuse happens every day. But at the same time, there's also like such a normalization of the abuse. So I think I
Yeah.
constantly feel sort of caught between that, right? That like
Yeah.
the extreme exposure to it is helping us have some of these feminist conversations on a more mainstream level than perhaps we have had before. And then at the same time, the overexposure to it is normalizing it
Yeah.
almost further, right? Because we're seeing that there's no accountability over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Right. Right. I totally agree. I've been thinking about that too. I think like you're talking about like the nervous system too, like impacts of being exposed to this stuff over and over again. Like even though the vast majority of us have this reaction of, repulsion and horror and outrage, like what does it mean to be like day after day, week after week exposed to these new details,
Yeah.
to be like, when I log on to X, which I try to do very infrequently, you know, to be like confronted with conversations about like cannibalism, like it's just like
Yeah.
it's the Overton window has shifted so in such an extreme way.
Yeah.
And yeah, what does that do to us to be exposed to this over and over and over again? And so like how like there is that on the one hand, and then there's the feminist, hopefully, conversations that are, being sparked in response, but, like
Yes. Well, and as you and I have discussed, like the ties here to the so-called quote unquote hetero pessimism within heterosexual culture right now are
Yeah.
strong, right? Like the depth of